What if I told you, every time someone makes you mad, they own you? Not just emotionally, but mentally. Think about it. If a side glance throws you off, if a single comment ruins your day, you're not in control. You're not free. You're a puppet dancing to the tune of everyone else's mood. Harsh truth. Yeah, but necessary. Today we draw a line. No more being tossed around by the world like a leaf in a storm. No more reacting to every trigger, every tone, every stare. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to forge a mind that's untouchable, how to protect your peace with the force of a warrior. It won't be gentle, but it will be worth it, because what you'll discover are 11 raw, unfiltered Stoic lessons. Not pretty, not polished, but powerful. Tools that will turn anxiety into clarity, anger into calm, noise into silence. By the end of this video, you won't just cope with the world. You'll command yourself in it. You'll stop letting chaos crawl into your mind and start standing in stillness no matter what's happening around you. But this isn't for the faint-hearted. If you're here for comfort, click away now. This is for the ones tired of being mentally soft, for those ready to become unshakable. They say there are two types of people in life: those who break the moment they're challenged, and those who stand so firm that their challengers get exhausted and walk away. For most of his life, Daniel was the first kind. And the worst part, he didn't even realize it. Daniel reacted to everything. A honking car, he'd scream back. A simple look from his boss, he'd spiral, assuming he was on the chopping block. If his girlfriend went quiet, he'd pick a fight just to fill the silence. He was like a sandcastle in a storm. One wave and it was gone. Until one Thursday morning, everything changed. Daniel showed up late to work, still fuming from a fight at home. Heart racing, mind spinning. His boss glanced up and said, "We'll talk later. That's it. Just 5 words." But to Daniel, it was a wrecking ball. Immediately, he was catastrophizing. "I'm getting fired. How do I tell my mom? What do I do about rent?" He couldn't hear a single word in the meeting. All he could hear was the pounding in his chest and that fearful voice whispering, "You're about to lose everything." And that moment, that breakdown, was the start of Daniel's breakthrough. Because the man he used to be, reactive, anxious, fragile, wasn't going to survive much longer. And neither will yours. Let's begin. But everything changed in an instant. When Daniel finally got called into his boss's office, he sat down stiff as a board, bracing for the worst. His stomach knotted, his thoughts racing. He expected a firing, maybe a lecture, at the very least some kind of scolding. But instead, his boss looked at him calmly and said, "Relax. I just wanted to ask for your help on a project. I trust you." That sentence hit Daniel like a punch, but not the kind he expected. It didn't hurt. It woke him up. Right then, in that absurdly ordinary moment, something inside him cracked, because he realized the real torment of that day hadn't come from anyone else. It had all come from within. He wasn't under attack. He wasn't being torn down. He was doing it to himself, his fears, his assumptions, his overthinking. He walked out of the office in a fog, dazed, disoriented. He let his feet wander without purpose and found himself standing in a small, dusty old bookstore. He didn't know what he was looking for, but something inside him did. Because buried between the faded spines of forgotten books, he spotted a worn-out paperback, The Handbook of Life by Epictetus. He picked it up, opened it at random, and read, "As long as you care what others think of you, you are their slave." His hands trembled. His chest tightened. It was like the book had slapped him across the face, or like it was holding up a mirror. That moment changed everything. Daniel realized he had never been free. Every time someone criticized him, ignored him, or pushed his buttons, they weren't just annoying him, they were controlling him. And why? Because he let them in. He handed them the keys to his mind. That night, for the first time in years, Daniel slept like a rock. The next morning, his partner tossed a sarcastic comment across the breakfast table. Normally, that would have triggered an argument, but not this time. Daniel took a breath, smiled, and said, "Have a good day. No anger, no defense, no venom, just peace." He wasn't a master yet, not even close. But he had discovered something most people never do. Every time you react the way someone expects, you give away your power. Every time you choose calm instead of chaos, stillness instead of snapping, you take it back. That random afternoon in a forgotten bookstore. That's the day Daniel stopped being a slave. He started walking the path Epictetus laid down centuries ago, a path of real freedom, because it's not about controlling the outside world. It's about building something inside that nothing can shake. Now let me ask you, how many times today have you let someone else dictate how you feel? How often do you give away your calm to the rude driver, the passive-aggressive coworker, the friend who ghosts you if that question stings a little good? That's your wake-up call. Subscribe and join a community of people committed to mastering their minds. And drop a comment below. Tell me what steals your peace most often. Or just write Stoic at heart. From this moment forward, let this be your vow. Only I govern my inner world. But let's keep it real. Your brain still acts like it's fighting to survive. Ever grip the steering wheel like it was a lifeline just because someone honked at you? That jolt of adrenaline isn't just frustration, it's ancient programming. Your nervous system isn't reacting to a traffic jam. It thinks you've just been exiled from the tribe and tossed into the wild, left to die alone in the jungle. Sounds dramatic, that's because it is. But it's also how your brain was built. Every time a boss delays feedback or someone leaves you on, read your system panics like there's a tiger hiding in the bushes. Your body launches into fight or flight, all because it hasn't caught up to the fact that we'll talk later isn't the same as you're about to be eaten alive. Your brain doesn't see context. To your limbic system, there's no difference between a lion's roar and a Slack notification. It's all danger. It's all threat. But you're not alone. Even ancient minds face this. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher and former slave, said it long before neuroscience did. We are not affected by what happens, but by how we interpret it. Let that settle in. Epictetus didn't just preach calm, he lived it. Imagine him getting a cold. We'll talk later in the year 60 AD. What would he do? Probably raise an eyebrow, nod slightly, and say, "That's not up to me," before quietly going back to etching wisdom into a clay tablet. Now let's contrast that with how most of us react. You're in the office staring at your screen, mentally replaying the joke you slipped into the end of that report. It's been 2 hours. Your boss looks over deadpan and says, "We'll talk later." And just like that, your mind spirals. You're updating your resume in your head, imagining that awkward conversation with your parents, picturing yourself on a beach, selling handmade bracelets just to survive. Your throat dries up, your palms sweat, and your stomach does gymnastics. All over a sentence, 4 words. But here's the breakthrough: it doesn't have to be this way. You can train your mind to stop reacting like the world is on fire. You can teach your brain that not everything is a threat, and it starts with one small habit. Next time your heart races and your thoughts spiral, take a breath and whisper to yourself, "This is not a real threat." Say it again if you have to. Write it down. Stick it to your monitor if needed. And here's the science behind it. Psychologist Ethan Kross found that when we name our emotions, when we label and locate them, they lose their grip. The brain calms down, the body softens, the fear fades. This tiny practice is the beginning of everything. Because when you stop flinching at every imagined attack, you stop being a puppet. You stop handing your peace to things that don't deserve it. You become the calm in the storm, the stillness in the noise. And that's where true power begins. So you've started learning how to calm the chaos inside you. Now the next step, it's learning how to hold that calm when the world tries to shake it out of you. Let's be honest, anyone can stay composed when things are peaceful. But what about when your heart's racing and someone throws a verbal jab right at your pride? That's the real test. That's when your reaction defines who's in control, your emotions, or you. It starts with naming what's happening. Say it clearly, even silently in your mind. "I'm afraid of losing my partner. I'm nervous because I have a big interview." Labeling the fear doesn't make you weak. It makes you aware. And awareness is power. Now here's the Stoic twist. Do the opposite of what your impulse screams at you. If your anxiety tells you to panic, over-apologize, or send a second email saying, "Sorry again," don't. Instead, stand up, go grab some water, breathe deep, reset your posture. Walk back to your desk with a small smile, even if it feels like a zoo is stampeding inside you. Because what matters isn't the noise inside, it's the signal you send out. When you move through that moment with composure, you're not just holding it together. You're retraining your brain, You're proving to yourself that your impulses don't own you anymore. And that's real strength. Each time you choose serenity over chaos, presence over panic, you hardwire a new standard in your mind. You become the one who drives, not the one who gets dragged. And soon it's not just something you do, it's who you are. Now let's take that strength to the next level because nothing reveals your inner mastery like choosing silence in the face of disrespect. Ever been hit with one of those sarcastic digs that feels like a punch to the gut? Oh wow, someone finally showed up on time. That's a miracle. Nice outfit, is that what you sleep in? Honestly, no one expects anything from you anyway. You've heard lines like these before? We all have. And it's not the words that sting the most, it's when we let those words shake us. It happened to me once, and I'll never forget it. Picture this, a big family dinner. Laughter, wine glasses clinking, people passing plates around. Everything was fine until with his mouth half full of bread, my uncle decides to drop a grenade in front of the whole table. No wonder you don't have a partner with that personality. Who could stand you? For a split second, I saw red. I had a savage comeback locked and loaded about his third divorce ready to fire. But instead, I paused, took a slow, deep breath. Then I stood up, walked over, and served myself another helping of salad. Not a word, because in that moment I realized something powerful. My silence was louder than any insult. And when you learn to control your tongue, especially when you want to lash out the most, that's not weakness. That's dominance over your ego. This is what Stoicism teaches us. You don't have to fight every battle. You just have to prove to yourself that your peace can't be touched by noise. You've held your composure, swallowed the urge to lash out, and stood in the fire without flinching. Now it's time to learn how to use that silence, like a blade one that cuts through the noise without ever making a sound. So picture this, the room has gone still. The insult just dropped. You didn't say a word. You kept chewing, your food, eyes forward, posture strong. The sound of cutlery scraping plates suddenly felt louder than any voice. People awkwardly glanced away. No one dared to meet your eyes. That silence. It carried more weight than any comeback ever could. Now imagine you're at a wedding. Everyone's dressed to the nines, champagne glasses clinking the air, buzzing with joy. And then it happens, your partner, annoyed you arrived late, decides to humiliate you in front of the crowd. Well, of course, always the one we have to wait for. Laughter. Some sincere, some nervous. You feel your face flush with heat, your fists tighten at your sides. A biting remark is loaded on the tip of your tongue, just waiting to fire. But instead, you breathe. Raise your glass with a soft smile, and lock eyes calm and unbothered. You didn't just keep your cool, you made them feel their own words echoing back at them. That's the real power of restraint. It doesn't scream, it disorients. Marcus Aurelius, emperor, philosopher, and warrior of the mind, once wrote, "People act according to what they know and who they are. Don't get angry, have compassion." He didn't write that from a mountaintop of peace. He wrote it surrounded by betrayal, power struggles, and war. He didn't raise his voice when slandered. He didn't retaliate when lied to. He stood still and let others expose their character with their own words. Why? Because silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. So the next time someone throws a jab meant to rattle you, here's what you do. Don't respond yet. Pause. Let 5 to 7 seconds pass. Let them feel the weight of what they just said. In that pause, they start to hear themselves, and it's often more uncomfortable than anything you could have said back. Still feel the burn rising. Try this, lean in slightly. Look them straight in the eye, and with the calmness of a man who owns himself, ask, "Can you repeat that? Watch what happens." Most people can't, and the ones who do, they expose more about themselves than they ever intended. Want to go deeper? Try questions that strike with calm intent. Did you say that to try and offend me? How did you want me to feel when you said that? Does saying that actually make you feel better? No sarcasm, no raised voice, just direct, steady curiosity. They won't know how to respond because they were ready for your anger, not your mastery. This is what Stoicism teaches. Your silence isn't weakness, it's self-command. And when you learn to use it wisely, it doesn't just protect your peace, it commands respect. But here's the real flex: when your silence becomes your power and not your punishment. Because the moment you learn to hold steady when your ego begs you to react, that's the moment you realize you've broken free. You've crossed into true mental mastery. And what comes next? Unshakable peace. 3. No one rules over your peace. Let's get brutally honest. Why do you keep handing over your peace like it's a party favor? Every time someone provokes you and you snap, you're not just reacting, you're surrendering. Worse, you don't even know it's happening. Think about how easily you give someone control over your emotions. A glare, a rude comment, a sarcastic tone, and suddenly, boom, you're no longer in command. You've become their puppet on a string. Now picture this. You've had a rough day. Work drained you. Your mind is buzzing. Your neck feels like a rock. All you want is to grab your groceries and get the hell home. You're standing in line at the supermarket. And just then, some random person bumps your cart, scoffs, and says, "Can you hurry up already?" You feel the fuse light instantly. Your blood surges. Your jaw clenches. Every insult you've bottled up all week comes rushing to your throat. You're ready to explode. But if you let it out, you've just handed that stranger complete control over your state of mind. For what, a 5-second power trip? Do they really deserve that? Let's zoom out with a lesson from one of the greatest minds in history, Socrates. He was once insulted in public in full view of others. The man was verbally attacked for minutes, and he just stood there, silent, unmoved. Later, someone asked him, "Why didn't you say anything?" Socrates smiled and replied, "If a donkey kicked me, would I sue it?" That wasn't arrogance. It was clarity, because when you understand the difference between provocation and power, you don't waste your energy on donkeys. Donkeys kick. That's what they do. Some people throw shade pick fights and toss venom, not because of you, but because that's all they know. The real question is, do you want to join them? Or rise above? Psychologist Guy Winch calls this practice emotional hygiene. You brush your teeth, right? You don't walk around letting people shove dirt into your mouth. So why let them stuff their emotional garbage into your peace? Your calm is sacred. Your mind is a fortress. And anyone who tries to pull you into chaos, they only succeed if you open the gate. So here's a challenge for you. Starting today, decide no one gets to see your worst. Not because you're hiding, but because you're in control. Hold that line. Your silence isn't weakness. Your calm isn't passive. Your restraint is a signal that you've stopped living on autopilot and started living by design. Let's be real, your peace isn't something you just stumble into. It's something you prepare for. That's the shift. You don't wait for the world to be calm to find calm. You walk into the storm already armored. Take this with you before your next awkward dinner tense meeting or that family gathering where someone always presses your buttons. Today, nothing and no one steals my calm. Sounds simple, it's ancient, it's stoic. That's exactly what Marcus Aurelius did every single morning. The most powerful man in the world at the time didn't just wing it, he prepared. He wrote, "When day breaks, remind yourself I will meet the indiscreet, the ungrateful, the insolent, the deceitful, the envious, the unsociable." All this happens because they are ignorant of good and evil. That wasn't pessimism, it was clarity. He wasn't caught off guard when people disappointed him, he expected it. So when someone lashes out, throws shade, or tries to ruin your day, visualize their words like bubbles. They might float toward you, catch your attention for a second, maybe even sting for a moment, but then they pop. Gone. No weight, no damage. The real mistake. Holding on to those bubbles, collecting them, letting them pile up until they become heavy. Let them go every time. Now here's an important twist. What if you mess up? What if you react, snap, lose it? Don't spiral. Don't shame yourself for being human. Forgive quickly. Return to center. Your peace, like the ocean after a storm, always returns as long as you stop feeding the waves. So here's a question for you. What's the moment that challenges your calm the most? Drop it in the comments. Or if you want something simple and powerful to carry into every room, every challenge, just type Stoic at heart. Because every time you hold your ground, stay centered, and refuse to be pulled into chaos, you prove a simple truth. Your peace belongs to you, and no one else gets to rule it. 4. Not everything is about you. Yeah, let that one land. It might sting a little, especially for your ego, but it's one of the most freeing realizations you'll ever embrace. Most things aren't about you. Not the weird look, not the delayed text, not the laugh across the room, not even that cold response you didn't expect. We all fall into this trap walking around like we've got a satellite dish strapped to our heads, scanning for signals, assuming every micro expression is about us. Ever walk down the street and someone frowns and immediately you think, wait, what did I do? But here's the liberating truth. You're not the center of everyone's story. And that's not rejection. That's relief. Because when you stop making everything personal, you stop bleeding energy. You stop turning moments into narratives. You start living. And honestly, thank God not everything is about you. Because once you let go of that belief that every whisper, glance, or silence is secretly aimed at you, you free yourself from an exhausting weight you were never meant to carry. Let's be real, that paranoia, the constant need to decode every expression, every pause, every comment, it's draining. And it's not clarity, it's anxiety. Here's the truth. Everyone else is far too busy drowning in their own chaos to be orchestrating a narrative just to judge you. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about them. But I get it. It's not easy to break that habit. Picture this. You're at the gym in the middle of your squats, trying your best to stay balanced. Out of the corner of your eye, you spot two people in the corner, laughing and glancing your way. Your body tenses. Your brain kicks into high gear. You instantly start scripting a scene. Are they laughing at me? Did I mess up the form? Is it my shirt, my face? Within seconds, your anxiety spikes. You're no longer in your workout, you're in survival mode. And just like that, you botch the entire set. Because your mind has convinced you you're the punchline of someone else's joke. But guess what? They weren't laughing at you. They were literally talking about a viral TikTok, a salsa dancing cat. You just happened to be in the background. Now read this slowly. Remove the opinion and you remove the I am harmed. Remove the I am harmed and the harm itself disappears. Marcus Aurelius. Let that sink in. It's not the outside world that's hurting you. It's the meaning you're giving it. You're not reacting to people. You're reacting to the stories you tell yourself about people. And most of those stories, they're fiction. The truth is, people act based on their own wounds, their own fears, their own stress. They're stuck in their own movie. You're not even on the screen. But what happens when your brain won't let it go? When it needs an answer? What were they thinking about me just so you can sleep? That's when you remind yourself, this is just the story I'm telling myself. Brené Brown, the best-selling author and speaker, named it perfectly. We don't just observe, we narrate. We fill in gaps with worst-case scripts. Someone doesn't text you back. They must be ignoring me. Someone yawns while you're talking. They're bored of me, but the truth, they're exhausted. They're stressed. They didn't even notice. They're too busy surviving their own day. So the next time you catch yourself scanning the room, like a radar interpreting every glance as a threat, pause. Turn the volume down. Breathe. You're not being watched. You're being human. And that's something worth remembering. And if you're still not convinced, let this sink in. Not everything you see is about you. Not every glance, every laugh, every moment of silence is a coded message aimed in your direction. The truth. Most of the time, you're not even part of the scene. You see the movie playing in other people's lives, rarely casts you as the villain or the hero. You're likely not even in the shot. If you're really unsure and you trust the person involved, just ask them directly, hey, was that because of something I did? More often than not, they'll say no, and just like that, you can let it go and move forward without carrying emotional baggage that was never yours to begin with. And if you don't feel comfortable asking, then here's your next best move. Drop the drama and get back to your squats. Seriously, focus on you, because what really matters is what you can control. Everything else, that's just noise background, chatter that doesn't deserve your energy or attention. The moment you stop assuming you're the center of everyone's universe, something incredible happens. A quiet calm opens up in your mind. Your anxiety loses its grip. You breathe easier. You feel lighter. That's when you start to truly master your peace, when you realize that not everything deserves your reaction, and certainly not your emotional energy. And now we move to the next lesson. 5. Stand firm no matter what. The courtroom was packed. A tense, hushed murmur filled the air like a distant swarm of bees. All eyes were locked on one man, Nelson Mandela. He walked slowly, purposefully to the center of the room. He'd been imprisoned for months, and he knew deep down there was no escape from what was coming. In the front row, his mother sat, her body trembling as she fought back tears. In the back, a police officer glared at Mandela with cold certainty, as if he were already buried. The judge's voice cut through the silence. "Do you have anything to say before sentencing?" Mandela paused. He took a slow, measured breath, then raised his head and smiled ever so slightly. Not because he was unfazed, but because he refused to let them see him break. Then he spoke, "I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society, and I am prepared to die." In that moment, the courtroom turned to stone. No one moved. No one breathed. Time itself seemed to freeze. His serenity wasn't weakness. It wasn't surrender. It was strength, the kind of unshakable power only a calm, disciplined mind can wield. A man with a calm mind is more dangerous than 1,000 men shouting. And here's the truth: you don't have to be standing before a judge to experience that kind of power. You can feel it on a regular Tuesday, at a crowded bank, in line for what feels like an eternity. Your phone is buzzing nonstop. Your day's unraveling, and the person in front of you starts yelling at the bank teller. Their rage is contagious. It fills the room like smoke. You feel it creeping into your chest, curling your fingers into fists, shortening your breath. And then that voice in your head kicks in. Say something. Step in. Don't just stand there. But here's the truth: if you follow that impulse, if you let it take over that stranger, that situation, they win. They steal your calm. They own your emotions. And you become a puppet in someone else's storm. So let's carry that energy forward, that calm strength. Because the real test isn't just in the courtroom or at the bank counter. It's in the everyday moments where life pokes and prods to see if you'll crack. If Marcus Aurelius had been standing in that same line at the bank watching the chaos unfold, he probably would have raised an eyebrow, let out a soft chuckle, and said something like, "Waiting in line is good training for patience and for your legs." Why? Because Marcus already knew something that most of us forget in the heat of the moment. In his timeless meditations, he wrote, "If something external disturbs you, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment of it." That single sentence, it's a total game changer. It means that chaos can swirl around you, noise can rise, people can lose their minds. But you still get to choose. You choose whether to be moved by it. You decide whether to stay grounded or let it shake you. And in today's world filled with pressure, distractions, confrontation, that kind of mental steadiness isn't just admirable, it's rare, it's powerful, it's priceless. Because here's the brutal truth. The moment someone else can make you snap, make you shout, panic, or lash out, they've taken control of your inner world. And that peace, that calm, that should never be for sale. So what do you do? How do you protect that peace? You prepare, intentionally, daily. Start each morning like a warrior sharpening his blade. As you button your shirt or tie your shoes, remind yourself, today I will meet impatience. I'll meet rudeness. I'll encounter people in pain, people lost in their own chaos, and none of that will take away my calm. It's mental armor. It's preloading your emotional software so that you don't crash at the first sign of trouble. Then when the storm shows up, because it will, you're ready. You're standing in line at the bank. A guy in front of you starts screaming at the teller. Your heart pounds, your hands go cold. Your impulse says, get involved. But instead, you don't. You become the observer. You watch the storm like it's rain outside the window. You stay dry inside. You don't absorb the chaos, you witness it. You let the wave pass without riding it. And that, my friend, is mastery. Now, if someone does drag you in, if they point at you, try to suck you into their whirlwind, you hold the line. You don't yell. You don't plead. You just calmly say, we'll continue when you've calmed down. Or if needed, I don't accept being spoken to like that. Delivered with stillness, that sentence. It's sharper than any shout. It's louder than any insult. Because here's the deal. The storms in life won't stop. You can't control the weather, But you can choose to be the umbrella, not the puddle. And when you learn to master your reactions, when you tame your anger and soften your anxiety, no one can take that peace away from you. 6. Reprogram your reactions. Let's get even more real. Picture this. You walk into your favorite cafe. You spot that waiter, the one who once forgot your order. And when you reminded him, he replied with a flat, "You'll have to wait. I'm busy." You haven't even sat down, but your jaw's already tightening. Your shoulders climbing up toward your ears. Your back stiff like concrete. He hasn't even made eye contact. And yet your entire morning coffee ritual ruined. Because your body, your mind is reacting to a memory, not a current threat. Just an old bruise being poked again. But here's the beautiful truth. You can change that. You can reprogram how you respond. And I'll show you how in the next section. But what if just for today, you chose to flip the script? Instead of giving that waiter your usual cold stare, instead of clenching your jaw and stiffening your shoulders, you do something totally unexpected. You smile, genuinely. You look him in the eye and say, "Good morning," maybe even toss in a casual, "How's your day going?" And suddenly you feel it a shift. Not outside, inside you. Because the tension, it wasn't coming from him, it was coming from you. Your brain had been reacting on autopilot following a mental script you'd replayed so many times that it felt real. Even though it was outdated, it's a powerful moment, that realization. And to make it even clearer, let me share something fascinating. At Duke University, researchers ran a strange experiment. They had participants smell something seriously unpleasant and at the same time showed them photos of different faces. Later on, even when those faces were smiling or neutral, the participants' brains still rejected them. Why? Because the human brain, it's fast to associate. Smell something bad, see a face. Martra from, that person must be bad. It's irrational, but it's real. Now here's the beautiful part. If the mind can be trained to react to a neutral face just because of a bad smell, it can be retrained too. If your body can learn to tense up at the sight of someone who annoyed you once, or flinch at a tone that reminds you of something painful, then it can also unlearn that response. Seneca centuries ago understood this well. He said the greatest remedy for anger is delay. Simple, right, but powerful. What he meant is that when emotion comes charging in, when you feel like exploding, you don't have to. You can pause, you can wait, cool your head, and respond from a calmer, wiser place. Because here's the truth, if your mind has trained itself to jump like a spring at certain people or moments, it can also be taught to stay still. That's not weakness. That's real strength. It's mastery. Teaching your mind and your nervous system that they don't have to dance to the rhythm of every emotional trigger. So if you ever feel like your emotions are running the show, like they've got the remote and you're just reacting, listen up. First, write them down. Seriously, grab a piece of paper and scribble what you're feeling. Doesn't have to be poetic or deep. Just get the words out. I feel disrespected when he ignores me. I feel embarrassed when people laugh. Seeing those words outside your head takes away their edge. It helps you understand them. It gives you space. Then start rewriting the mental story. Stop assuming that person did it to hurt you. Most of the time, they're just lost in their own chaos, not scheming to ruin your day. Little by little, you stop being a victim of your own inner movie. You stop casting yourself as the offended lead character. In the meantime, just breathe. Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's pure gold. When you feel your blood boiling, pause, straighten your back, drop your shoulders, and take one slow, deep breath. That breath creates a sacred pause. It gives you a moment to observe what's happening, like you're watching it through a window instead of standing in the middle of the storm. And finally, maybe most importantly, remember to focus on something bigger. Because when your life is built around a strong purpose, when your energy is aimed at something meaningful, the little slights and petty provocations, they shrink. It's like looking at a map. When you zoom out far enough, the road bump that once felt huge becomes a tiny dot. And that, my friend, is when peace stops being a lucky moment and starts becoming who you are. Because here's the thing, when you know where you're going, the little pebbles on your path stop looking like mountains. That's the real shift. Reprogramming your reactions doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending things don't bother you. It means rewriting the mental script, the automatic response, and taking control of your calm like a seasoned director guiding his own movie. You're no longer just reacting, you're choosing. And every time you pause before reacting, even just for a second, you take back a piece of yourself. A little more calm, a little more control, a little less slave to the outside world. 7. Be grateful for the people who irritate you. Yes, seriously. Even those people. Not too long ago, I was at the movies. Perfect seat, popcorn in hand, lights dim. I was ready to escape into the story, finally unwind. But then came the disruption. The girl next to me wouldn't stop talking on her phone. Loudly, she laughed, gasped, commented on every single scene like she was watching it in her own living room. I felt my ears getting hot, my jaw tightening, and I'll be honest, my first thought, please let the earth swallow her already. But then I caught myself. And in that moment, a tiny moment, I realized something weird. That girl, she wasn't just a disturbance. She was like a free mental training session, a pop quiz in patience. She was testing whether I really had control over my mind or whether a little noise could shake me that easily. Now imagine you in another scenario. You're at a neighborhood meeting. It's been dragging on for what feels like forever. Finally, it's your turn to speak, and boom, there's that one guy, the guy who always interrupts. Every sentence you try to get out, he cuts in with some irrelevant rant or disagreement. You feel your legs vibrating under the table, your palms sweating. You already have the perfect zinger ready to shut him down. You can even hear the imaginary applause in your head after your mic drop moment. But instead you breathe. You sit in that heat and that fire, and you think, thanks for the practice, champ. And it sounds crazy, right? But in that moment, it feels like you won. Not just the argument, something bigger. Because here's what Marcus Aurelius would probably say if he were sitting next to you at that meeting. This man is my emotional gym. It's the truth, the exact moment your peace is under attack. That's your training ground. That's your mental weightlifting session. That's where strength is earned. And if you let it, those annoying, frustrating moments become tools. The Stoics saw this clearly. You don't get to choose who crosses your path, but you do get to choose how you respond. Epictetus laid it out perfectly. Difficulties are what show men who they are. So every time someone pushes your buttons, they're also showing you something deeper. A part of yourself that still needs work, still needs growth. That rude neighbor, that clueless moviegoer. They're more than just irritations. They're mirrors. Reflecting back your weak spots, not to break you, but to help you train them. And that, my friend, is the difference between someone who's constantly triggered and someone who's mentally unshakable. So if every annoying person is secretly your mental gym coach, here's the next step. Start noticing what part of you is getting triggered. Is it your pride, that little voice inside that whispers, nobody should talk to me like that? Or maybe it's insecurity, the fear that if you don't win the argument, you'll seem weak or insignificant. Or perhaps it's just your impatience, that old habit of wanting everything to move at your speed. Next time someone cuts you off mid-sentence or dismisses your idea, take a moment and ask yourself, which part of me feels attacked right now? That simple pause can shift your entire experience. Then change the story you're telling yourself. Instead of thinking, why are they doing this to me? Try asking, what are they trying to teach me? You might be surprised by the answer. Maybe they're showing you how to stay calm when your ego flares. Maybe you're learning to listen more fully or to let go of the need for constant approval. Sometimes the people who frustrate you the most are holding up a mirror you've been avoiding. And here's the wild part: once you see the lesson, practice thanking them. Yep, seriously. Even if your jaw is clenched and your smile is fake, whisper to yourself, thanks for helping me train. Or, this is making me stronger. Because every difficult person is like a weight at the emotional gym. The more you lift it, the stronger you become. And no one else is going to train for you. So drop a comment and let me know who's been your patience coach this week, or just type, I'm grateful to those who challenge me. 8. Let everyone follow their own path. This next part might be the hardest. Have you ever watched a butterfly fight its way out of a cocoon? It's slow, it's clumsy, it looks painful, and your instinct might be to help to tear the cocoon just a little so it can break free. But here's the truth: if you help too soon, you destroy it. Because the struggle is what strengthens its wings. Humans, we're no different. Everyone needs their own time to grow, to fight, to figure it out. Sometimes the worst thing you can do is jump in with your own urgency disguised as kindness. Sometimes helping too early is just your discomfort with watching someone else struggle. Picture this. Your best friend is in a toxic relationship. You know it. Everyone sees it. They're not thriving, they're sinking. You've told them again and again. But one day, after yet another heated conversation, they look at you, eyes colder than usual, and say, "Leave it. I know what I'm doing." You stand there, a knot in your stomach, heart tight. That bitter mix of frustration and helplessness boiling inside as you walk away alone. And later that night, while lying in bed replaying the moment you realize something, maybe, just maybe, you've been tugging at their cocoon before it's time. But here's the truth: if your urge for someone else to change is stronger than their desire to grow on their own terms, you're no longer helping, you're interfering. And wouldn't you know it, Marcus Aurelius already warned us about this. He wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people whom fate brings you, but do so with all your heart." He wasn't just speaking about accepting life when it's easy or when people act exactly how we want. He meant loving others even when their path drives us up the wall. He meant embracing the journey, theirs and ours, without forcing the pace. History says Marcus Aurelius dealt with obstinate generals and short-sighted advisors constantly. Did he yell, slam doors, threaten ultimatums? No. He led with patience, with presence, with calm conviction, because he knew something powerful. Real calm isn't weakness, it's refusing to be pulled by someone else's panic. Jay Acunzo, host of the podcast Unthinkable, said it best. True influence happens when the other person feels respected, not pressured. Think about that. Pressure only builds resistance, but respect that creates space. It's like trying to grow a plant. You can water the soil, give it light, but you can't yank on the stem to make it grow faster. You'll only tear it apart. So the next time someone close to you is fumbling through a mess, take a breath. Remind yourself, it's not my war to fight. You want to help, show them. Don't shove. Be the calm presence in the chaos. Be the candle, not the flashlight in their face. Let your presence speak more than your words. Let them sit in the silence. And when or if they're finally ready to reach for something better, they'll remember how steady you were. In the meantime, focus on your garden. Keep your composure. Let them bloom on their own timeline. Even if their growth looks messy, even if they take 3 steps back for every 1 step forward, that's okay. Because here's the quiet truth: wings that unfold by choice are the only ones that truly know how to fly. And if all this resonates, but you still feel like your mind runs the show more than you'd like, there's another video waiting. A deeper dive into mastering the voice in your head and reclaiming full control. It might just change everything. 9. Your worth isn't out there. Pause for a second. Let's get brutally honest. How many times today did you wait for someone's approval? How often do you need to hear "good job" just to believe you're doing okay? And how many times have you felt small and visible just because someone ignored your message, skipped over your name, or gave their attention to someone else? When your self-worth depends on someone else's reaction, it's like balancing a glass vase at the edge of a table. One careless nudge and it's shattered. But what if you didn't have to live like that? And that desperate search for approval? It doesn't just show up in deep conversations or major life moments. Sometimes it's as subtle as opening your phone. You post a photo, maybe one you actually felt good about, and an hour slips by. No likes, no comments, not even one emoji. At first you brush it off. No big deal, you tell yourself. But then your eyes drift back to it. Again and again. Do I look bad? Did I say something wrong? Does no one care? Suddenly you're spiraling. There's a knot in your stomach. Your face starts to flush. And anxiety builds like a train speeding out of control, all over a few silent clicks on a screen. But this isn't new. Even thousands of years ago, the Stoics knew this trap. Epictetus didn't have Instagram, but he understood human nature. He said it clearly: don't worry about what's beyond your control. That's why he didn't chase attention. He didn't need applause. Because he anchored his self-worth in what actually mattered: his actions, his discipline, his character, especially when no one was watching. That's real power. And if you're thinking, well, easier said than done, you're not alone. Even people who seem calm and unshakable today once chased approval just like you. Take Jay Machete, for example. On his podcast, he shared how as a teenager, he tried everything to fit in. He joined the rugby team, not because he liked the sport, but because he wanted to look tough, strong, brave, accepted. So every practice, every drill, every bruised rib, it wasn't about passion. It was a performance, a mask, and the more he played the role, the further he drifted from who he really was. Until one day, he broke. Because no amount of claps from the crowd could silence the voice inside whispering, "This isn't you." Now let me ask you, do you really want to spend your life chasing validation from people who don't even know your heart? Isn't it exhausting to measure your worth based on other people's attention spans? Here's where it changes. Let me share something with you, not as advice, but like a friend pulling you aside quietly. First, stop doing things just to be liked. If you catch yourself acting for show, like Jay with rugby paws, and ask, is this what I want or what they expect of me? That one question alone can break the spell, because it returns power to the only place that matters you. Here's an example. You're invited to a party. You're exhausted. You'd rather stay home recharge. But that voice says, if you don't show up, they'll think you're boring. In that moment, ask yourself, am I going because it excites me? Or because I'm afraid of judgment? If it's the second one, skip it. Say no, put on some music, stretch, watch a movie, and notice how fast the anxiety fades when your decision aligns with your truth. Second, reconnect with who you really are beyond all the roles. Jay shared that even when school made him feel invisible, he always felt loved at home by his mother. That's what kept him grounded. So find that place for yourself, your refuge, that memory or space where you know you are enough, even if no one applauded. Maybe it's sitting on a porch with someone who made you feel seen, or a quiet walk where the world finally felt still, or even just the way your dog looks at you when you come home. Those moments are gold, because in them there's no performance, just peace. And that's what you're after, not more likes, but more lightness. And maybe that feeling of being enough, it starts in the smallest moments, not on a stage, not through applause, but during a quiet walk at sunset when no one's around to validate you. Or while you're cooking dinner just for yourself, savoring the silence and the scent, not to impress, but to nourish. Those are the moments that whisper a truth we often forget. Your worth has never depended on an audience. Now here's where the shift happens. Jay, the same guy who once tried to prove himself on a rugby field, found something powerful. When he stopped performing and started serving others, his anxiety didn't stand a chance. Because when your energy is focused on contribution instead of validation, everything changes. Try this. Next time you walk into a meeting or show up at a dinner with friends, don't ask, will they like me? Instead, ask yourself, how can I make someone feel seen today? How can I bring value to the room? That tiny shift in focus, it turns you from a people pleaser into a presence, from a prisoner of opinion into a leader. Because when your self-image is rooted in you and your intentions, your actions, your quiet strength, you become like a rock in the ocean. Waves may crash, storms may come, but you stay grounded, unmoved, because nothing and no one controls your calm anymore. 10. Master your anger before you speak. Let's be honest, anger doesn't knock politely. It crashes in. It shows up like a kitchen fire. A small spark turns into smoke, and before you know it, everything's in flames. And in that moment, nothing else matters more than this one skill. Can you shut off the gas before the fire spreads? You've been there, haven't you? You're scrolling through the family group chat, and boom, your cousin writes, "Of course you only show up when there's free food. Never miss that, huh?" And now your blood's boiling. Your fingers are flying. You start typing the kind of message that would end him. Your heart's pounding. Your ears are hot. Your stomach's twisted into a knot. You hit send, silence, then a cold reply from another cousin, then a phone call from mom, and now the group chat feels like a war zone. And you've just started a family fire that will take weeks to cool off, all because you couldn't wait 10 seconds. 10 seconds. So let me ask you this. Do you think that kind of self-control, the ability to pause, breathe and bite your tongue, can be trained? Psychologists say yes, and they proved it decades ago, with nothing more than a marshmallow. In the 1970s, Walter Mischel ran a now famous experiment. He placed kids in front of a marshmallow and said, "If you don't eat this for 10 minutes, I'll give you another one." Simple, right? But here's the twist. The kids who managed to wait, the ones who didn't give in to the impulse, grew up to have greater emotional intelligence, better relationships, and more success in life. Why? Because they learned the superpower of delayed reaction. They learned that waiting can be strength. And in the heat of anger, that strength can save relationships, reputations, and your peace. So here's the truth. Anger is just another marshmallow. You can devour it in a second, or you can choose to wait and win. If Marcus Aurelius were alive today and sat down in that marshmallow experiment, I'd bet money on it he wouldn't just wait 10 minutes. He'd sit there calmly all day if needed, because he understood something we still wrestle with. Every moment is a choice between reaction and reason, and he always chose the second. He wrote it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about that. Anger acts before thought, but mastering anger, that's a double victory, one over the moment and one over yourself. Now, maybe right now you're thinking, yeah, easy for you to say. And I get it. We've all had those moments where anger feels too fast, too loud, too hot to contain. But that's exactly why I'm giving you a toolkit today. Something real, something proven. So the next time rage shows up uninvited, you don't hand over your peace like it's nothing. You anchor it. Dan Harris, journalist and meditation teacher, calls it the anchor. And no, it's not just a catchy phrase. It's the rope that keeps you grounded when the emotional tide rises. Here's how it works. Before you say anything, before you send that text or raise your voice, pause, and then take 3 deep breaths, but not just any breaths, intentional ones. Feel your body expand as you inhale for 4 seconds, then slowly deflate as you exhale for 6. This isn't meditation fluff, it's space. Space between you and the explosion. Now picture this: you're driving. Some jerk swerves into your lane like he's late to crash into a wall. Your hands go straight for the horn. Your pulse spikes. You're ready to lose it. But instead, you rest your palms on the wheel. Close your eyes for 1 beat. Inhale, exhale, twice more. And when you open your eyes, you're no longer in their chaos. You're in your control. And that's just the beginning. Next comes what Harris calls scanning the body. Sounds clinical, but it's primal. Because anger doesn't hide. It lives in your jaw, your shoulders, your chest. It clenches, tightens, knots you up. So here's your move. Bring your attention there. Notice where the storm is. Feel the tension in your jaw like stone, your shoulders pulled up to your ears, that fire in your gut. Now, breathe into those places. With each exhale, let go, like untangling a knot you've been carrying around for far too long. Imagine this: you're in a meeting. You've been respectful, professional, and someone cuts you off with sarcasm so slick it draws laughter from the room. Every instinct says, bite back, clap back, don't let that slide. But instead, you feel your jaw stiffen. You feel that burn in your chest, and you pause, not to retreat, but to reset. You scan, you breathe, and you take back control, one breath at a time. Because when you choose how you respond, you don't just protect your peace. You prove who's really in charge. Here's the truth. When your chest starts to burn and your blood begins to boil, you have a choice. Don't let that tension hijack your voice. Feel it. Acknowledge it. Then drop your shoulders. Inhale. Exhale. And when you finally speak, it won't be fire. It'll be clarity. It'll be calm. And trust me, that kind of control, it disarms more people than shouting ever could. Because mastering anger doesn't mean swallowing it whole or pretending it's not there. It means slow cooking it, letting it simmer down until it no longer has venom. And once you learn to do that, no one can poison your peace. Now stay with me, because what comes next, it's the final piece of the puzzle. It's what makes all this mental strength truly worth it. 11. Good or bad? You decide. Not long ago, a close friend of mine missed his flight because he overslept. He barreled into the airport like a storm, red-faced fist pounding the counter, cursing the universe, blaming fate, shouting how this was the worst day of his life. He paced the terminal like a volcano about to blow. Every glance, every breath fueled by frustration. Then hours later, while poking at a cold cup of coffee in the airport cafe, he looked up at the TV. Breaking news. That same flight suffered a mechanical failure. The plane had to be evacuated midair. And just like that, his anger drained out of him. He blinked, lowered his cup, sighed deeply, and quietly said to himself, "So, was it really bad?" Let me ask you something, my friend. How many times has life pulled a plot twist like that on you? Maybe your boss tells you you're fired. In that moment, your stomach drops. You spiral. You panic. This is the end. But 3 weeks later, you land a better job. Or maybe you start that side hustle you'd been too afraid to try. And suddenly, you're happier than you've been in years. So tell me, was it bad or was it the shove you didn't know you needed? I read something the other day that stuck with me. It was simple. It was brilliant. A guy online said if there's no reason to feel good, there's also no reason to feel bad. Let that sink in, because your emotions, they don't have to be chained to events. They're tied to your interpretation. If you decide to call it a disaster, it becomes one. But if you choose to see it as a reset, a redirection, then that's exactly what it becomes. For the Stoics, this wasn't just motivational fluff. This was training, mental conditioning, a daily practice. Marcus Aurelius, arguably the most powerful man of his time, began each morning expecting difficulty. He'd literally rehearse the chaos of the day ahead. He'd say to himself, "Today I will meet the rude, the ungrateful, the dishonest, the selfish, and none of it will surprise me." Why? Because he didn't give power to outcomes. He trained his mind to stay steady no matter what came. So what about you? What if you stopped labeling things as good or bad and just saw them as part of the path? That's where peace begins. That's where your strength becomes unshakable. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. And that's exactly how he protected his peace, not by avoiding the blows, but by expecting them. You see, when Marcus Aurelius faced bad news or harsh words, he didn't flinch. Why? Because he had already rehearsed it in his mind. He didn't label it bad. He didn't call it good either. He simply saw it for what it was, neutral. And from that stillness, he chose his response. So the next time life hits you with something uncomfortable, ask yourself, what would a Stoic think about this? Would he label it a disaster? Or would he pause and look through it calmly, like fog clearing from a windshield? That question alone shifts your mindset. It forces you to zoom out of the emotional chaos and back into clarity. But here's the catch. Understanding this intellectually isn't enough. You have to train it just like you train a muscle at the gym. Let me share a simple practice. I use one that's reshaped my perspective. Day by day, the good or bad journal. Each night, take a quiet moment, grab a notebook, and write down 2 situations from your day that annoyed you or triggered you. Maybe a coworker interrupted you mid-sentence. Maybe someone ghosted your message. Maybe your idea got rejected in front of everyone. Whatever it is, write it down. Then beside each event, jot down what you felt in that moment. And most importantly, what story you told yourself about it. Was it "they don't respect me" or "I'm not good enough"? Get honest. Now here's where the transformation begins. In a second column, ask yourself, what possible benefit or lesson could this be hiding, even if it's small? Even if it seems ridiculous at first. Maybe that interruption forced you to express your point more clearly. Maybe the person who showed up late gave you 5 unexpected minutes of silence to breathe. Maybe that rejection saved you from a commitment that would have drained you. And sure, some nights the answer won't come. That's okay. As Marcus Aurelius said, loss is nothing but change, and change is nature's delight. Sometimes the wisdom isn't immediate, but the very act of searching for it, that's already rewiring your brain to stop playing the victim and start stepping into your role as the master of your mind. Here's one final line I want you to carry with you. This story isn't over yet. Say it when the unexpected hits. Say it when you're frustrated. Say it when everything seems to be going sideways. Because it's true. The ending may look nothing like what you're imagining now. And with time, something beautiful happens. You stop jumping to label things bad. You stop clinging to false control. You start letting life surprise you. Because in the end, every moment is like clay. Some people just see dirt. But the wise, they see the raw material to shape something powerful, something meaningful. Mastering your mind, your emotions, your reactions, that is the real victory. And every single day you get a new chance to choose calm over chaos, to hold your ground, to decide once and for all that no one else owns your peace but you. And here's the truth that ties it all together. You don't need the world to change to find peace. What you need is to master the part that's always been within your reach, your attitude, your reactions, your sense of serenity. Because real strength, it isn't how loud you yell, it's how steady you stay when everything around you starts to shake. So if you've made it this far, truly made it to the end, I want to hear from you. Drop this in the comments. I choose calm above all. It's our signal, our stoic handshake. That phrase tells me you're one of the few who didn't just watch but absorbed this message to the core. And hey, if this video spoke to something deep in you, if it gave you even one idea you can carry into your real life, tap that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Also, don't forget to check the description box. We've dropped some powerful resources there to help you go deeper into the world of Stoic philosophy, whether you're just getting started or you're walking this path every day. And if you'd like to support what we're doing here so we can keep creating content that actually makes a difference, you'll find details in the pinned comment. Now, before you go, there's a playlist on screen waiting for you. It's handpicked to help you take everything you just learned and apply it to your everyday challenges with more clarity, more confidence, and a calm that doesn't break. Click it. Keep learning. And until we meet again, stay sharp, stay grounded, and keep walking like a true Stoic.